No water, no problem. Not when you're a Chad pirate like Count Noctilus here, Contrarian Codex. This time facing off against Dutch Skink here in a battle of zombies versus lizards. So let's strap ourselves in, take a look at Mazdamundi here in his thickness. We've got some Red Crest Skinks here, plus a front line of regular Skink cohort, second line of Javelins, one Temple Guard, some Feral Cold ones, and plenty of Chameleons. Yeah, a couple of Chameleons out on the side there. Very, very cool. Then we know the Rotting Prometheans from earlier this week, including the Lamprey's Revenge. We've got some deckhands, some handguns, some hand guards. Depth guards. A couple of them, and yeah, the rest is basically all zombies. So, not a lot of mobility from the coast side, similar to what we saw last time. But let's take a look here what the lizards are going to try and do as they approach. Noctilus kind of running out in front of his army, waving his halberd around, taunting, no doubt, the skinks here in the front line. Neener, neener, neener. I'm a pirate. I don't know. What? Comment down below. What do you think? What do you think Noctilus's burns on the skinks would be? Talking some smack here. Anyway, don't get yourself banned by YouTube's automod. Some of you guys are a little spicy. That's okay. Yeah, we'll fast forward a little bit as both these players kind of position, do some posturing, try to figure out how best to approach each other. Eventually, we get some skinks scooting a little gap here. Very nicely done to get around those slow deckhands, get into the pistols where the skink cohort can actually trade very cost effectively. The speed disparity here is quite extreme as well. I mean, I think these skink cohorts are, yeah, 46 base speed. The zombies are 23. They're literally twice as fast on their base speed, so definitely some things to be aware of. We get a ruination of cities. We get a little banishment, or sorry, yeah, chain lightning from the Quaddle. Very nice. And Red Crest Skinks there do miss their charge, but flank is being turned. Zombies have been burned. And also the Depth Guard are running unabated through the center, just carving up skinks like crazy. So that is a little bit of a problem, but likewise, Quaddle and the Lizards are able to compromise the ranged units. So both players kind of just like run around each other's front lines, or, you know, kill a handful of units and then kind of go after the enemy's ranged, which is going to be quite interesting here. Mazdamundi also mixing it up directly with Noctilus. Both units kind of designed to kill each other, and to an extent. Mazdamundi's got direct anti-infantry on his mount with some good weapon strength. Of course, Noctilus with his halberd is anti-large. We get a Pit of Shades there as well on the cohort of Sotek. Unbreakable skinks. Gotta do damage to him somehow. But, yeah, these Depth Guard are really, really putting in some work right now. Just carving through hordes and hordes of skinks. But let's see. Certainly anyone's game still, as the Stalkers are able to kind of extricate themselves here. Not sure how much they got with their precursors. Probably not a ton. Not that effective generally these days. Or, yeah, could be better for sure. Maybe a couple more volleys or something of the grenades for the Stalkers. But Quaddle and Mazda forming up here in the center, getting a nice defensive position going. They've got some supporting skinks, but Noctilus and the Depth Guard and Rotting Prometheans, there's just so much value landing here. It is tough to contend with. But the Stalkers, yeah, they look like they're going after some enemy infantry units just to try and engage them in melee and fight, which is probably good. Court of Sotek also being unbreakable. Can come in here and maybe get a little bit of armor-piercing damage on the Depth Guard. We'll have to see. Certainly they've done a good job of shutting down all these handguns in particular. But Stalkers moving through and even getting on the pistol mobs there as Rotting Prometheans heal. Is that Rotting Prometheans? Or, yeah, nice invocation upgraded, so hits all those units with that invocation of the heck. And yeah, Horde of Sotek going to be supported by Mazdamundi as he moves through to try and apply some armor-piercing damage to the Depth Guard. Likewise, the Quaddle was helping momentarily, but a nice ruination of cities comes through, does some very solid damage, and these Depth Guard, I believe, are going to start crumbling here. Not that it'll matter too much. They do have the hunger, which is essentially counteracting it, but It's something. Ooh, Noctilus is also quite low here. A quaddle snipe attempt. Wild quaddle snipe attempt. Arcane Unforging. Very wild stuff here. Did he bring this full spell kit from Mazdamundi? Surely not. No, just Apotheosis and Arcane Unforging, which you do not see very often, but it is going to hinder the ability cooldown, so Noctilus isn't going to be able to pop Invocation of the Heck on himself, right? At least for a little bit. And applies some direct damage, and not quite able to finish off his leadership. Noctilus's leadership just so good. He's able to barely hang on here, but here comes Mazda. Ooh, let's get the flags out of the way. And the crabs out of the way? Maybe. Or he says, no, please put more crabs in the way, and more deckhands, and anything else I can summon up here. He doesn't actually have the crab summon. But, yeah, throw in some more zombie bodies to the fire, and it's essentially, at this point, mostly just Mazdamundi and the Quaddle, like, fighting in this giant blob. Most of the things have been destroyed. Got some Stalkers still fighting on the outside, but somehow Mazdamundi still is able to screen through the Stalkers, get through, and maybe finish off Noctilus? Yeah, it looks like he's crumbling. But those look like Noctilus is numbered. He's going to get some anti-large damage on Mazdamundi while he's, yep, there he goes. Very unceremoniously just throws himself on the ground and dies. Deserved for Count Noctilus, honestly. But poor Quaddle here is suffering pretty badly. We've got cold-blooded on Mazdamundi himself, despite the finishing of Noctilus. I'm not sure it's going to be enough. I mean, a lot of these undead units are crumbling right now, but critically, the Lamprey's Revenge are holding their leadership. They're fighting in melee, and something else we talked about last time that's you're gonna see again play out here is the ability of these guys to fire their shotguns in just about any situation. They can fire on the move. They can fire in melee. They can fire when they're in a surrounding a single entity, but a lot of their unit models are not able to get in contact for whatever reason. Maybe mainly skinks, clogging up the battlefield. They're still going to maybe shoot their shotguns at the Quaddle, which is just really nice, unless you're the Quaddle. That being said, Mazdamundi rallying some units together over here, crushes the other Promethean with his very tattered horde of skinks. More like a band at this point, but there you go. The Stalkers and regular skinks just, finishing off that unit of Prometheans. So it's going to come down to the Lamprey's Revenge, largely, to try and win here with their remaining zombie help. All the deck guards have been blasted, so not a lot to it, but to get to it. And, Mazdamundi immediately manages to get himself somewhat surrounded. I don't know if they actually had an attack order on him or on everything else, but it looks like the case is probably everything else. We've got some Feral Cold Ones mixed in here as well. Just such a cool little cinematic. These random dinosaurs and these brightly feathered skinks fighting these giant crabs in the sand, and you got whatever that thing is in the background. Gotta love Warhammer. Lamprey is holding for the time being. Ooh, we do get a unit of Red Crest back here to get a little rear charge. Zombie deckhands also, a little bit of anti-large, certainly goes a long way in a situation like this. Oh no, there is the other depth guard. Okay, he's just had run off the edge of the map there probably to chase some stuff. So that actually does make a pretty big difference. They can come in here and maybe, I mean, I don't know, if the Lamprey's Revenge go down, they might just get crushed by Mazdamundi here. Let's see, Lampreys right now holding their leadership just barely, and they are getting that regeneration still, so as long as they're not taking too much damage from Mazda, should be able to continue fighting. But yeah, this one depth guard here, vigor is low, but health is high, and morale's great. They're going to move in, start to cut through the skinks. Quaddle actually routs here. Yeah, barely routed off its leadership. And suddenly Mazdamundi's fighting very much alone. Even his stalwart chameleon stalkers here are not long for the battlefield. Depth guard move in, and even though they're not anti-large, not armor-piercing, just their presence at this point is so much HP, hunger. It's a lot for Mazdamundi to try and grind through. Only got about 2,000 HP himself. Guessing this is it. Maybe, maybe not. It looks like right now the Lizardmen are managing to largely hold off army losses, but that skink just charged straight in the teeth of those depth guard and got clobbered for it. And Mazda barely holding it together. Lamprey's Revenge maybe can get some shots as he tries to pull away here to finish off his leadership. Yep, looks like there's one shot. Another shot. Yeah, anything that lands here will help. Under missile fire, -5, right? Look at all those leadership modifiers. Cold-blooded, definitely doing some good work right now and helping to keep him on the field. Oh, it's so close. So close. Conquest even objective might end up coming into play here if it takes long enough to finish Mazda off. We still have quite a bit of time left on that, but Lamprey's Revenge getting very low. Actually took some crumbling damage there, but Osmodi's leadership also crumbles, and that's going to be a victory for the Vampire Coast. A very close one at that. Very well played to Dutch Skink there. And, yeah, he did a great job of getting on the missile units. A lot of these skinks, yeah, 123 kills, 500 value on just a regular old skink cohort. That is just awesome. Absolutely fantastic. 145 on these red crests, even though they didn't pay for themselves on value. You know, tactically, just burning through all those unit models, definitely quite useful. Million Stalkers actually did a good job paying for themselves. You know, at the late game especially, this one kind of running around supporting Mazdamundi did a really nice job. Really catch what happened to the Temple Guard, to be honest. But they didn't do a lot, evidently. Yeah, from Codex's side, it's this kind of healthy depth guard that ended up coming back in the late game. I think that ultimately secured him the win, because had Dutch Skink been able to keep those supporting skinks alive for longer, might have been able to hold out the win there. I mean, obviously, you know, these guys still would have had to have been killed another way, but 380, almost 400 kills. Almost 18,000 damage dealt, 1,100 gold value. 1,100 gold value on 300 kills is crazy, by the way. That's insane. And I'll leave you with that. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Ooh, gunnery mob's also quite nice, as expected. But yeah, we'll see you next time.